Now let's talk about what truly made Riku Ryu stand out. When most people think about pair skating, they immediately picture the spectacular elements, the massive lifts that seem to defy gravity, the breathtaking twists launched high into the air, the side-by-side jumps that demand perfect timing, and of course, the dangerous throw jumps where even the slightest mistake can lead to disaster. Those moments are undeniably impressive. For casual viewers, that's usually where the amazement begins. How can one skater lift another that high? How do they remain so stable on a sheet of ice? How can a skater be thrown across the rink and still land so beautifully? They're fair questions, but surprisingly, those weren't the moments that impressed longtime figure skating fans the most. The most experienced viewers weren't talking about the giant lifts or the risky jumps. Instead, they kept saying the same thing: these two never seem to be out of sync. And that's where the real story begins. Because the hardest part of pair skating isn't always the big tricks everyone notices. It's the tiny details, the way skaters enter step sequence, the exact moment they raise an arm, the angle of a shoulder, the timing of a turn, the way they slow down, the way they breathe between movements, the way they absorb the final note of the music. These are the details that separate good pairs from truly extraordinary ones. Big elements last only a few seconds. Of course, those moments require years of training and incredible skill. But when a performance is over, what stays in the audience's mind isn't always the jump or the lift. It's the feeling between the elements. It's the invisible connection. It's whether two skaters appear to move as one continuous line. It's whether they seem to exist inside the same world created by the music. And that's exactly what left international commentators stunned. They noticed things most viewers would never see. The arm movement happened at exactly the same moment. Their takeoff timing was perfectly matched. It looks like Ryuichi already knows what Riku is about to do before she even moves. Even the bend in their knees is synchronized. Those were the reactions coming from commentators and fans around the world. And when you stop and think about it, that's actually incredible. Simply skating in the same direction sounds easy, but it isn't. One skater moves a fraction too early. The other reacts a fraction too late. One bends slightly deeper into a movement. One raises an arm just a little higher. That's all it takes for the illusion to disappear. Yet Riku Ryu weren't simply skating side by side. They were entering lifts, transitioning through step sequences, changing direction, accelerating, expressing emotion, and interpreting music together. Every movement demanded complete trust. Every transition demanded complete awareness. Every second required them to create a single artistic vision together. Making all of that look effortless is incredibly difficult. That's why people were so amazed. Viewers didn't feel like they were watching two athletes trying to synchronize. They felt like they were watching two athletes who were already synchronized before the performance even began. And honestly, that's a kind of beauty that score sheets can't fully capture. Figure skating has technical scores. It has component scores. Judges can reward execution and artistry, but there is no category for what Riku Ryu were displaying. No score can measure shared instinct. No number can calculate mutual trust. No point value can quantify two athletes breathing with the same rhythm. Their arms weren't merely reaching the same position. Their movements seemed connected before they even started. Even after a movement ended, the lingering emotion pointed in the same direction. That's not something statistics can explain. That's something people feel, and perhaps that's why one particular moment exploded across social media. Ironically, it wasn't a giant lift. It wasn't a risky throw jump. It wasn't even one of their biggest technical elements. The moment that fans kept replaying was far more subtle. It was the instant when Riku and Ryuichi extended their hands at exactly the same time. A simple movement, yet somehow unforgettable. Normally, synchronization means matching the height of the arms or the angle of the hands. But with Riku Ryu, fans noticed something deeper. The timing before the movement matched. The way their fingers opened matched. The direction of their gaze matched. The softness of their expression matched. Even the emotion that lingered after the movement ended matched. Everything flowed together so naturally that it looked less like choreography and more like a single wave moving across the ice. And that is what captured people's hearts. Comments flooded social media. How are they this synchronized? They're supposed to be two people, but they move like one living being. The small movements impressed me more than the lifts. This level of synchronization is what makes Riku Ryu special. Their precision is absolutely breathtaking. Some fans went even further. It's not just that their arms move together. They seem to breathe together. The feeling after each movement is identical. This is a beauty that can't be written on a score sheet. Perhaps the most fascinating reaction was that many viewers openly admitted they weren't moved by the difficulty of the elements. They were moved by the connection. Some said they were more emotional watching a step sequence than a lift. Others admitted they got chills simply watching the two skaters extend their hands at the same moment. They weren't reacting to athletic difficulty. They were reacting to shared emotion. That's the real reason this performance resonated around the world. And honestly, I find that remarkable. Most viral moments are loud, they're dramatic, they're obvious. But in this case, the moment people couldn't stop talking about was a quiet gesture lasting only a few seconds. That tells you everything you need to know. The audience wasn't just watching, they were feeling. And when viewers notice something that's subtle, it's usually because what they're seeing is completely genuine. Ryuichi provided the strength. Riku transformed that strength into beauty. That was the magic of Riku Ryu. Neither skater was trying to outshine the other. Neither was the sole star of the performance. Their greatness emerged only when both moved in the same direction, sharing the same purpose and the same vision. And international fans recognized that immediately. Many viewers pointed out that Riku's elegance was possible because of Ryuichi's unwavering support. At the same time, Ryuichi's power became even more impressive because of the artistry and emotion Riku brought to every performance. One fan summed it up perfectly: this isn't a pair where one athlete stands above the other. They elevate each other. And that's why the performance feels complete. And honestly, there's something profound about that. While coaches and training staff certainly play a crucial role, the most powerful ingredient in any partnership may be the trust that exists when nobody is speaking. The strongest teams aren't always the ones receiving constant instructions. They're the ones where both people already know where they're going before a word is spoken. And that brings us to perhaps the most fascinating part of this entire story. How did the rest of the world interpret this extraordinary connection? Why did international audiences become so captivated by Riku Ryu's chemistry? As reactions poured in from around the globe, one theme appeared again and again. People couldn't stop talking about their synchronization. Commentators and fans kept asking the same question: how are they this perfectly aligned? They're clearly two people, but they move like a single living being. At first, those comments focused on what people could see, but as viewers watched their performances over and over again, the conversation began to evolve. The deeper people looked, the more they realized this wasn't simply a technical achievement. It was something much more human. Many international fans eventually arrived at the same conclusion: this isn't about technique, it's about trust. That observation changed everything. Viewers began describing the pair in entirely different ways. They aren't skating to the music, they're creating the music together. Ryuichi isn't reacting to Riku, and Riku isn't reacting to Ryuichi. They already share the same rhythm. This feels less like a pair team and more like two people sharing a single heartbeat. And perhaps the most powerful comment of all was this: you can see the depth of their trust more than the height of their technique. That sentence captured exactly why so many people fell in love with their performances. Because trust is visible, not in statistics, not in score sheets, but in movement. International fans also felt that Riku Ryu brought something unique to pair skating. Many commented on the incredible attention to detail throughout their performances. Rather than relying solely on huge elements to impress the audience, they paid attention to every fingertip, every glance, every transition, and every lingering moment after a movement ended. Their precision wasn't cold or mechanical. It felt warm, human, intentional, and that combination left a lasting impression on audiences around the world. Of course, no one is suggesting that only Japanese skaters can achieve this level of artistry. The sport is filled with phenomenal teams from every corner of the globe, but many fans felt there was something uniquely delicate and deeply connected about what Riku Ryu were presenting. And perhaps the most meaningful reaction came from people who said their performances became even more beautiful with repeated viewings. The first time they watched, they noticed the lifts. The second time, they noticed the expressions. The third time, they noticed the hands. The fourth time, they noticed the breathing. And with every viewing, the synchronization seemed even more extraordinary. That's the mark of truly great art. It reveals more every time you return to it. One particular reaction touched fans deeply. Many remembered comments Riku had reportedly made about her partnership with Ryuichi, expressing that she couldn't imagine continuing with another partner in the same way. That sentiment resonated powerfully with international audiences. Fans began saying things like, After watching this performance, I understand why. Finding this kind of connection twice would be nearly impossible. This isn't just technique. This is what happens when two people share a significant part of their lives together. They aren't simply teammates, they're one complete work of art. Those words spread rapidly because they captured something people instinctively felt while watching. At first, viewers were impressed by the technical skill, but eventually they realized they were witnessing something deeper, a story of trust, a story of partnership, a story built over years rather than moments, and that's what made the reaction so beautiful. People from different countries, different cultures, different languages, yet they all reached the same conclusion. What they were seeing wasn't merely athletic excellence, it was human connection, and that's why the story becomes even more powerful when you look beyond the beauty of the performance itself, because synchronization like this doesn't appear overnight. It isn't created by a few successful competitions. It is forged through years of struggle, years of mistakes, years of setbacks. Years of showing up when things aren't going well. Behind every perfectly synchronized movement lies an untold history. There were difficult training sessions, moments of frustration, injuries, disappointments, days when results didn't come, days when confidence disappeared, days when tears were shed, and yet after every challenge, they returned to the rink together, again and again, little by little, year after year. The connection everyone admired was built during those unseen moments. Every arm extension, every knee bend, every glance, every transition, each one carried the weight of countless hours spent building trust, and perhaps that's why fans couldn't simply describe the performance as beautiful. They sensed the history behind it, because pair skating leaves no room for doubt. Even the smallest hesitation becomes visible. If one skater isn't completely certain, if one athlete is slightly nervous, if trust weakens for even a split second, the performance changes. The lift becomes hesitant, the jump entry becomes late, the movement loses its flow, and the audience notices. The ice has a way of revealing the truth. It exposes confidence, it exposes fear, it exposes trust. And remarkably, Riku Ryu showed almost none of that uncertainty. Riku trusted Ryuichi completely. Ryuichi trusted Riku completely. That mutual belief allowed them to move without hesitation, without second-guessing, without fear. Think about it for a moment. If the skater being lifted doubts their partner for even a fraction of a second, their body stiffens. If the partner providing support hesitates, even slightly, timing begins to break down. The fact that Riku Ryu appeared so perfectly synchronized was evidence of something far greater than technique. It was evidence that trust had become instinct, and that's exactly what audiences around the world were seeing.